Wish I could lift this.
Sounds great, John.
How about a table?
Oh, a chair.
We lost our signal.
Pretty good.
What a great way to start. I love that. You sound great, man.
That was a long time ago. 2006.
Yeah, it seems just like that, doesn't it? It really does.
Yes.
Ladies and gentlemen, my guests, Barbara Bentree and John Rangel. And it's just so nice to have you guys here after a long time of not seeing you. How long have you been gone from LA?
We left in 2005.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's almost as long as my second marriage. So yeah, man, it's a long time. And John, speaking about John, he was one of the primary piano players here that was admired and desired. Admired and desired. I like that.
I'll take
Could
that.
be title of a song or something. How come you guys moved?
We were in LA for, I was there like 13 years, I think.
I was there 23 years.
Oh,
Yeah, and it was
wow.
just like you know, living in your car kind of thing, you know, and
Yeah.
I was just, you know, and we had a friend in Santa Fe who we went to go visit. She said, "Oh, you can stay in our casita for the summer," and we're like, "Hey, that would be really fun." So we came here, and after 2 weeks, Barbara was like, "I'm not leaving," and I was like, "Yeah, it's pretty awesome," you know. And it was kind of cool because I had a studio in LA that I kept, and I commuted for a year just to see if it was going to work out, because it was hard to get that studio space. But after a year, a friend of mine opened up a studio here and said, "Hey, you want to share a studio with me here?" And I said, "Yeah, that would be great." So I finally moved everything.
Was there a playing scene when you moved?
Well, yeah, yeah, there were some really great players. Actually, a friend of mine, Luis Guerra, was a bass player
Luis Guerra.
he was in Santa Fe playing a gig, and I was with Kevin Hayes, and I was like, "Who are these guys? And what a great bass player!" And he says, "Yo, I live in Albuquerque, but I play in Santa Fe all the time." And I was like, "Oh my God, you know, that's a good guy to know." So I had a bass player, and then I found a couple of good drummers. But very, very quickly we met Dave Grusin in Santa Fe. It was probably a year in, and I gave him my CD. I was thinking, "Oh well, you know, check this CD out," and I remember running into him again. I was doing a commission to record the Well-Tempered Clavier, which was a huge project, took 11 months, and we had tuned the piano to well-tempered tuning, and Dave was walking around outside or something, and he's like, I said, "Hey Dave, how's it going?" I said, I don't know if you remember me, I'm John Rangel, and he goes, "Yeah, I remember you. I got your CD playing in my kitchen," and I was like, "What?" You know, like, okay. So anyway, so we just kind of, you know, talked and became friends, and that's kind of how we got to know him, or at least I got to know him that way. And we had already kind of met him casually, but it was nice to sort of show him our well-tempered piano, and he was really interested in that. And he's just, you know, that was cool. And so yeah, but Dave Grusin, Doug Lawrence lives in Albuquerque. Plays in
Didn't
the music band.
Dave Parlato live?
Yeah, Dave
Yeah,
Parlato.
yeah.
Yeah, I played a bunch of gigs
Gretchen
with him.
grew up here.
Yeah, because he lived in LA for a while.
Yeah,
Yeah. Tootie Heath is here.
yeah.
Oh,
We've got some people who are kind of coming here to retire and everything, but I think the other thing is that Santa Fe is a very liberal and progressive town, and there's a surprisingly large percentage of people that really love jazz here. And when we first moved here, not now, of course, but there are enough significant clubs in Albuquerque and Santa Fe to really, and when you're someone like John, you know, it didn't take long before he was like the guy, you know. And have you ever heard of the Outpost in Albuquerque? That's a really great venue. So we get a lot of really, and then of course the Lenzik Theater, which is in Santa Fe, gets, I mean, Chick Corea, Pat Metheny, I mean, everyone comes through here, you know.
oh,
But it's like, you can look in the paper that night and say, "Oh, look,
George Lloyd is playing."
Right,
Quick,
want to go? And we're in
10
the
minutes.
8th row, you know. I mean,
In 10 minutes.
it's just awesome. So
wow.
it's got kind of an international reputation, and a lot of people like to come here, and a lot of them come regularly. So it all supports sort of this very fervent jazz crowd, which has really been nice. I mean, feels like a community of people.
Yeah. Barbara, are you singing?
Occasionally, yeah. I perform with John once in a while. I don't know how you feel, Cathy.
We were at the Outpost last year.
Yeah, we were at the Outpost last year, and I've kind of evolved to the point with my singing that I need to be in places where people listen.
Right, right.
So I don't know how that is for you. And then in Los Angeles, you know, we'd actually love to know what the club scene is like there now, because it's been a little while since. I mean, we've been to the Blue Whale and a few places there, but you know, it's like when you get the restaurant crowd, it's the clinking glasses and the, you know.
Yeah.
So I'm less enthusiastic about those kinds of gigs at this point in my life. I tend to do theme-based shows that the content's really important, and I spend a lot of time, you know, like working out all the material, and I really want people to listen to it. So
Really?
Is that
What a
so wrong?
concept, you know?
Amazing.
And there are a few places, that I can do that here, but who knows
Well,
now?
an outpost is
The
open.
Outpost is awesome.
Great,
Yeah.
great place.
Yeah, I actually feel like that. I'm not sure that is only as you're growing older. I think it might be a change in what's happening. LA definitely has rooms like that. Of course, the Blue Whale and Catalina's and
Patello's or
Vitello's, and so the places, because um, yeah, I mean, I think it's more the style of music that dictates it. Like if it's an R&B group, people are going to dance, and they're maybe not going to sit and listen to every little nuance. They're kind of interested in the overall effect of the band and the singer, and then there's home concerts, home venues that have been more popular in the last bunch of years.
Yeah.
So I think LA is the same as that. And yeah, I'm trying to think of people I might know who are just kind of, being background happily. And I really don't know too many gigs like that, except for solo piano.
I remember when I first moved to LA, I did like some gigs at the Roosevelt Hotel, and it was like echoey, like a gymnasium, and then it was just like this weird vibe of just everyone was. I was definitely in the background. Let's put it that way.
at those gigs, right?
Yeah. Yeah, or at Nordstrom's. They used to do that at Nordstrom's
Right.
too.
I never did that, but that would be like, I don't know, that would be the end, I think. For me.
But that was
That would
interesting.
be
I
a fun
remember
gig.
I remember going into Nordstrom's and actually
Loving
paying
it.
attention to, like, oh, wow, he's good.
Yeah.
Who's that? And going over and talking. But it's not the con. I don't even think they do that anymore. I think that was another time and era. Although they do it in Japan. I have been actually on those kind of gigs in Japan.
Wow.
Yep, right in the middle of a shopping center.
Wow.
So Scott Whitfield says, oh, and Bobby Shue lives there too?
Yeah,
Yes,
Bobby
that's
Shue.
right.
There's a whole bunch
Oh.
of people in Albuquerque. James Newton, the flute player, lived there for when we moved here. Some people have come and gone. Kevin was here about a year, and it was really
Kevin
fun
Hayes,
to get to
yeah.
hang out with Kevin Hayes. And
Think of
then,
who else?
yeah, there's just, I mean, I'm trying to think of names that you might recognize, but
Yeah.
there's a cat named Bruce Dunlap who plays guitar here. Who's amazing, unbelievable guitar player.
Cool.
Kind of world renowned. But,
It's
that's,
kind of fun too when people come to the Lenzik. The venue is it's about 850 seats, I think, and it's just this beautiful theater. And
Really nice.
and so we know everyone that works there and stuff. So
Yeah.
the backstage is usually pretty accessible to us, and we actually end up probably seeing and hanging out with more named people, here, like the Manhattan Transfer came through. And
well, last year I was hanging out with
Haven't
Stanley
seen it.
Clark at the Lenzik. He was here.
yeah,
And I think that was the year before John Beasley was playing with him. And I think he comes here almost every year. And then we saw Stanley.
That's so
in-
cool.
in
And Carmen
Switzerland.
Bradford.
Carmen, yeah.
and the Basie band was
Actually, we
here.
brought Carmen Bradford to come play. I started a new venue here.
Oh, Eddie Daniels is here.
Yeah, that's right.
Eddie
Eddie's
Daniels.
practically a neighbor.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, it sounds fantastic, but
yeah.
that's pretty much everybody that
That's everybody.
that we know.
Well, that's nice. Don't talk it up too much, because a lot of people from California are, wanting to leave California.
Yeah, we've heard
Because
that.
of,
It
I
is
think
a
because of the
hard-
governor, but
Yeah.
I don't know.
But
Yeah.
I think the hardest thing about Santa Fe, just to close this up, is to say that it's a hard place to live if you don't have other things going on. Like if you don't have any other activities, and so for me, I had an international client at the time when we moved here, so I could make enough money to survive and sort of get my feet.
You need to be
set here.
internet based, probably.
Or just, have independently wealthy.
Or
something.
retired, or
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I mean, that it's hard because there's not a lot of gigs, that pay great. Once in a while you get a good gig, but it's, that's the downside of it.
Yeah.
And so it was good in a way because allowed us to kind of explore our filmmaking, inclinations, and that was kind of fun to learn.
Yeah. I do have a friend. She had been a student of mine over the years. Her name's Amy Jane Johnson. She's in Santa Fe, and she she used to live in Albuquerque, and I think I have that right. But she's an artist, and she sells beautiful art pieces and jewelry. I think it's Santa Fe. I'll make a note to kind of
Yeah.
hook you guys up, because she's a really cool person, and yeah, I'll just make a note of that.
There's a singer from LA that moved here named Tracy Whitney. She's she worked with Stevie Wonder and Ray Charles.
She's a friend, yeah.
And then I don't know. There's just a few, Deborah Johnson moved here from LA. She was a dancer. Tribbles, actually. And so actually Dwight's come out here a couple times. We've done some shows with him.
He has.
Yeah, which is really fun. And
I love him.
I do miss him.
Last week, the World Stage, he did a show from the World Stage with his group. I forget what it's called. It's called something like the Time Travelers or something, We just lost your video, by the way.
Oh, sorry. Hold on. Let me fix that.
It was so perfect, actually. It was perfect. I wrote him and I said, wow, this is your, apparently your time, because what they did was they had video from, got it back. They had video from, almost looked like the 60s, with swirling lights, and the band was great. And he was real far out, and it was great. It was a great show. I thoroughly enjoyed it online. It was great.
Wow. We're going to check it out.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Dwight. It's kind of fun because John has invited a bunch of people out here. In fact, if anyone's interested, contact John. But, well, when things get going again. But it's kind of fun to bring people out here because it ends up feeling like a vacation for them. It's just, you do the gig and then you get to go and check out all the Native American things and the artwork, which is just extraordinary. I mean, Santa Fe is the third largest art market in the world.
Wow.
So,
or it's tied with San Francisco or something.
It's like Milan, San Francisco, New York, and Santa Fe. So,
wow.
A million people come through Santa Fe every year and spend like $1 billion or something.
Wow.
At least they used to.
Yeah.
Back in the old days.
Yeah.
We're
back in the old days.
Pre-COVID.
A year ago.
So it's a very busy place and yet a quiet place. It's very, and there are all these festivals that happen, like the Native American art market and the folk art market, where they bring people in from Africa and all over the world with their fine artist things. And it's just at the Santa Fe Opera, which is a really wonderful opera company. So there's a lot of really high level people, chamber music festivals, things like that. There's a lot going on here.
Sweet.
Except for this summer. It's been really interesting. Yeah. Everybody canceled everything, and it's just, we drive around and kind of go, wow,
ghost town.
It's a ghost town.
Yeah.
It's nice in some ways, but I'm sure it's going to be tough on the locals for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. It's hard. It's hard to fully imagine what everybody's going through, because we have our lives so dedicated to the arts and what we do, and we're pretty focused. I mean, we've been focused on that for years, right? So that's our lives. But there's a lot of people who live, basically hand to mouth, or at least they work on something, and then that makes the money to actually go to the store to pay for food and stuff. So I think it's hard to imagine fully what people are going through, for me anyway. Although I'm not blind to it, but still, and I can't contribute to everybody, but I try and contribute to what I can. And, I figure in small amounts, if everybody's contributing in small amounts, then it'll add up,
Yeah.
I think the big thing that I miss is just hearing people in person playing an instrument, whether it's a violin or a piano or a drum set or something, it's really weird to be so isolated from acoustic sound and just everything coming from screens and speakers. It's kind of weird. Yeah.
The live stuff that I have seen has sounded so good. Thursday night, I was at a place called the Conference Room, which is this interesting, it's in an interesting area. It's towards the beach, but it's in this kind of, I'm not sure what the area, I have to investigate. It's either industrial or I don't know. People live there. It's industrial. There's businesses, but it's kind of more of a, building area. And it's inside this kind of complex. And although they have an outdoors, they personally have an outdoors. And this guy owns 3 restaurants right there. And he has bands Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. He has this, and they're all great players. And Thursday, I saw Rob Kyle and Clever George, who I haven't seen in probably 30 years. And it was beautiful. It sounded so good. We even got a jam session, which I can't believe I'm starting another jam session, but October 12th, Sunday, we're going to do Sundays from 6 to 9. And whatever, however it works, it's going to be, it'll be what it'll be, and then whatever. But because
it's people live. It's real music,
yeah.
Like,
Oh gosh, it sounded
music.
so good. It's so nice. The first thing I ever saw in this whole COVID thing was the Baked Potato opened up for a while.
Whoa.
And we went, and I literally felt energy like pour out of my body when they started playing. It was so great.
Yeah. I just can't wait to hug somebody again.
What am I?
Well,
No, I
I've
mean
been
a
hugging a
stranger.
few people. I hugged somebody yesterday. Don't tell anyone. I hugged a bass player. It was really his forwardness, but I mean, I'm careful, but
Yeah.
I don't know. Hugging a few friends. I'm going to hug them.
Yeah.
So what are you guys doing now?
Well, our current project is promoting this film that has basically just been released, the film about Dave Grusin. And it's just been the most amazing journey. When we moved here, as John said, we started exploring more of our filmmaking. We'd been making films, little ones, way back in Los Angeles, and for different purposes. And then I made a film about my high school reunion called "Should You Go?"
Kind of not finished.
Yeah, it's a really interesting film in that it talks about, and I've got people aging from the time of their graduation to like 40 years later, and it's sort of continuing. It's like I think, well, should I go to another reunion and get them again, and so it's sort of an ongoing thing, but that sort of got me
Every
interested.
5 or 10 years, she shoots a video of a reunion.
And it's really
of her high school
great
reunion.
because you hear different, we ask the same questions to the same people, and it's just really cool to see, first of all, how people change over the years, but also how your priorities change over the years. And it started out right after high school. Everybody was like, hey, and then now we're all taking care of our parents, and so
We're retiring.
yeah, and in between it was kids and college educations and all that. So that's a really great project. And then that kind of increased our confidence in making films. And then I made a film called My Choice, which is about women. It's a short documentary, about 45 minutes, and it's about women who choose not to have children. And that was really interesting because I just interviewed, there are a lot of women, strangely, in Santa Fe that don't have children, myself included. And I just kind of gathered these women in the living room, and I was doing it sort of as an experiment, kind of like, what would this feel like? And the things that they said were so extraordinary that I was like, oh my God, I got to turn this into something. So that was a wonderful project, and has been really, that was the lead up to the Dave Grusin film, where we said, okay, let's do something big now. And so Dave and John had started this relationship, and then
we actually did a concert together.
Yeah, as a fundraiser.
As a fundraiser for a school here, and so I hired like a really great bass player and drummer, and they had a string orchestra. So we did this whole bunch of cool arrangements.
Awesome.
It was all his arrangements basically, and got to know him, musically. Rehearsed a whole bunch for that, and and then
He
we
hired
were,
you here. You worked
no,
for
no,
him.
we were going to. We took a trip. We were driving up. Dave lives part-time in Montana and part-time in Santa Fe, so we were taking a trip up to Canada, actually driving a driving trip, and so we were
Passing
going
through.
along, and we were like, we're going by Montana. We should call Dave and just see what he's doing. And so,
We're going by Montana.
yeah, well,
You know,
through
they're
Montana.
like,
Yeah.
And so we're like, yeah, we're heading up to Canada, and for our anniversary. And what are you doing? And he's like, well, why don't you guys come by and just hang out? And
Stay for a couple days. We're like,
yeah, So we just kind of made it over to where they live, and hung out for a few days. And actually, I was talking to him, and Nan and Barbara are riding horses, and I said, yeah, Dave, has anyone ever done a documentary on you? Because I
we
just
had just listened to Herbie Hancock's
Yeah, it was that
autobiography in the car.
Possibilities autobiography thing that was really cool. And Dave said, nah, no one would be interested. And I was like, well, I'm interested, And so
It took 6 months.
it took 6 months
To convince
but
him.
eventually we got permission to start a process there.
And I think it was because we were musicians,
Yeah.
It was like we had all these conversations telling him what we were going to focus on and everything. And, there's a tendency with documentary films, and especially documentaries about jazz musicians, to be sort of exposés and, not
For
really.
instance, Lee Morgan's film had just come out, and of course he gets shot on stage.
Yeah,
That's the
and-
climax
and-
of the film. And I'm
And
going
all
like,
the Chet Baker movie and,
Yeah.
and all the, I mean, it's just, they're not really, uplifting films generally. And so I think it was really his wife, Nan, who finally said, Dave, if you don't let these two musicians who are friends of yours do this film, someone else is going to do it someday, after you're gone or wherever, and you won't have any input into it at all, or and so he just thought, and he knew we were going to focus on the music, which is what we did, and so he agreed, and thankfully,
yeah,
and it's turned out really, really great.
yeah, we've had great responses to it, especially from musicians.
Yeah.
We did a preview screening in Montreux in Switzerland, and there was Quincy, because Quincy's in the film, and after we asked. After we kind of were doing our post and stuff, Quincy says, "Well, are you going to come to Montreux and screen the film?" And we're like, "What?" And it was like 3 weeks from when we just literally finished it. And we're like, well, okay, sure. So we went, and it was amazing because the people that watched it were blown away. They were musicians from all over the world. So and I don't think they even knew who Dave Grusin was per se, but as soon as they saw the film, they were like, "Oh my God." And they were just totally moved by the film, which is to me is a great test when you have people that don't even know the subject, and were just really impressed with his creative process and how we captured it, and so that was encouraging. But yeah,
We actually have a little slideshow travelogue we could take you
Do we?
on of what we've done.
Yes.
Would you mind seeing some photos?
Yes, and anybody who doesn't see it, if somehow we lose the Facebook thing, please let me know by messaging me, and 818-599-3292, 818-599-3292. Message me if we go off. And by the way, Bill Marcus says hi, John.
Oh, Bill. Hi, Bill.
So yeah, because I don't want to lose us, and I would just switch us over to YouTube, but anyway, I don't want to lose us.
Sometimes a picture is worth 1,000 words,
So
And actually, I had fun putting
true.
it together because I was just like, oh, wow, look at what happened in the last year.
This is so exciting.
okay, how's that look?
Are you getting that?
Yeah, totally great.
Okay, this is the poster for the film.
Uh-huh.
And I'll put in a shameless plug. We're trying to get it nominated for a Grammy for Best Music Film right now. So if anyone's in the Academy,
Okay, good.
vote. Yeah, but you probably should see it first. Anyway, it started out where I just had to do a lot of research about Dave, and it was really fun because, here's the funny thing about it too, is that I went to the University of Colorado in Boulder, and so did Dave. In fact, when I grew up, and did my voice work there. I did all my senior recitals in the recital hall, which is called Grusin Hall. And so he's been in my life for a long time in weird ways. And of course, the University of Colorado was really excited about an alumni doing a film about kind of their most famous alumni. So I had to go to the, he's contributed all of his manuscripts to the library there. So I went and took photos of the manuscripts and everything. And you can just kind of keep going.
Okay, it's just...
Yeah. And then we started filming in Santa Fe, here in Santa Fe, and went, there we are in the Grusin kitchen with Dave and his wife, and John's recording sound, and we've got a cinematographer and all of that. And so, as John says, that's where we kind of learned a lot about Dave, and he sort of put out the breadcrumbs of who else, we should talk to and everything, and that was really fun. I think the next picture is...
I'm going to change my share settings here. So
okay, can you see this, Cathy?
Right this second I can't, but I did see it.
I'm going to go back here. Sorry. Just give me 1 second.
That's okay. This is pretty damn exciting.
Yeah, it was.
How long did it take overall?
We're about 4.5 years in now.
Yeah.
And it took about 3 years to make the film.
Yeah.
And part of it was because we were going to so many locations. I mean, we filmed in Santa Fe, Colorado, New York, Montana several times, and Los Angeles a couple times.
All right.
So
there we go. Is that better?
That's fine. That's good.
okay,
Yeah.
so there we are in Santa Fe in their kitchen, filming, and then the next one is just sort of an impromptu. Eddie Daniels is one of the people we interviewed in Santa Fe, and they just kind of sat down at the piano and started doing improvisation, and that was really fun to capture.
Yeah.
And then we started going up to Montana, which was really amazing because I don't know if you know what's going on in Montana. It was an education for us, but it's turned into the new getaway for a lot of really famous people.
Oh,
and
no.
all of Dave's neighbors are people like Michael Keaton and Tom Brokaw, and I don't know if you know the famous author Thomas McGuane, and a bunch of people, and these are all his fishing buddies. Dave is an incredible trout fisherman. So we, and this is a picture of us with Michael Keaton.
Yeah.
We're just finished our interview with him, so that was sort of like the beginning of us going, oh my, this is going to be really fun.
We actually filmed him on a bridge right here.
Yeah, that was the setup for filming him when we did it. And then the next picture shows the kind of fisherman that Dave is. I mean, he's just kind of manic about trout fishing, and I think it's something a lot of people don't know about him. In fact, we did a lot of filming. The next shot shows we went to the river with him to film him fishing. Geez. And our cinematographer had to actually wade in, and it was just a lot of adventure in that way.
Wow.
A drone camera that was going down the river and over his head, and everything, which is really cool. And then it kind of required a lot of editing. That's me editing on the road in a hotel room. It was just sort of a lot of very fast learning as to how to handle things. And this is a picture of Dave heading to the river, and on one side he's being shot by, the cinematographer, the other side is the still photographer, and it was just really so beautiful. I mean, we just wanted to stay there.
He lives on the backside of Yellowstone, so it just...
Oh, yeah.
It's really just incredible.
Isn't that gorgeous?
Yeah.
And then this is us in New York. We're interviewing Russ Teitelman, which is really
I don't know if you know who Russ Teitelman is, but he's
had
at least one, maybe more, Record of the Year Grammys. He produces people like Eric Clapton and George Harrison and James Taylor, and so like he's as big as it gets, kind of. And, and so we got to talk to him for a couple hours, which was amazing. And then we also, what was one of the highlights for me personally, and I'm sure John too, is Tommy LaPuma. We were his very last interview. He was, soon after we did this, he passed away. But it was so cool because he called us. He was late for the interview and everything, and of course, he had a big limo and everything. And he said, he calls us from the car and he said, "So I'm running late and I'm a little hungry. Can you get me a tuna fish sandwich and some cranberry juice and some, and we're like, we had catering, but, we didn't have that. And I was like, where are we going to get a tuna sandwich? And of course, we were in New York City. So it was like,
yeah, I just
there's
ran
a deli on the
downstairs
corner.
and there was like 3 delis,
Yeah.
I'm like, okay.
It was awesome because we got to sit and have lunch with another hour or so with Tommy and just talk. And
He looks adorable.
oh, and just, the stories. It was so incredible to interview these people because first we would spend, an hour and a half asking questions about their relationship with Dave and how they felt about him. And then we'd say, okay, now what do we want to ask him? And the stories we got from them about, the record industry, quite frankly, in its golden age, when they were making so much money and so many albums and the stories were just amazing, He was talking about doing George Benson's Breezin' album, and George was in Europe, so they needed some strings and they just jumped on a plane and flew first class over and hired the Berlin Philharmonic to, stuff that you can't even imagine now,
Yeah.
It's just so amazing. So that was really fun.
Yeah.
And then we came to Los Angeles and did several dates. And one of the reasons we went there is that Dave did a concert at the Walt Disney Concert Hall of West Side Story, which I don't know if you've heard the CD, but he did an amazing arrangement of all the music from West Side Story. And
in 97, and it was kind of like the 20th anniversary.
Yeah. So that was really cool. And I guess actually you should go back and
I see there's what's his name on guitar?
Lee Ritenour,
Lee Ritenour, Alex Acuna,
Dave
Weckl, and Tom Kennedy.
Yeah.
That's the rhythm section. And then he had a full band. So that was really fun to be there for that.
Beautiful.
Yeah. And then it was like backstage was really fun because people like Helen Mirren, and that's Helen Mirren and Taylor Hackford that, everybody's, it's just crazy. We're going, this is so great. And there's backstage with Lee Ritenour and everything. And it was just, we're pinching ourselves saying, this is really fun. And then the one that I had the most probably emotional reaction to was going to Marilyn and Alan Bergman's house.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you can relate to this, Cathy, but, I've sung their music, those songs all my life.
Yeah.
And to sit in that room, they have a really lovely small room that looks like it hasn't changed in, 40 years. And there's a little spin-it piano over in the corner. And you look over there and you go, oh my God, that's like where all those songs were written. And I personally had a really hard time keeping it together because I was so moved.
Overwhelmed. Yeah.
Just,
I can imagine.
It was incredible. And it was really great because I was telling him one of my favorite songs that they do is, I said, yeah, I love that song, A Love Like Ours. And he goes, no. Alan said, no, it's not A Love Like Ours, it's Love Like Ours. So it was like getting it right from the source, that I've been saying it wrong for 10 years.
I totally get that. There was a show here that was called Just Jazz. And I forget who the main composer was, but they were the lyricists. And I had to audition for them. And they said, pick a song, a ballad that you feel very, deeply about. Well, I think it was something like, where do you start or something like that. I said in the beginning, I said, I'm going to try not to cry at a certain point, but because this is very emotional for me. And Alan said, I know the point. And sure enough, when the point came, I cried. I was like,
what's the
God.
point that makes you cry? Because I sing that song a lot too.
Yeah, there's like one line or something that's like, ugh.
Yeah, there's a lot of lines in that song that make me
They're just the best. They're just the best writers. They're
amazing.
They're the best lyricists ever. And that actual song was from that movie with Goldie Hawn and who was the guy in Smokey and the Bandit, the actor.
Oh,
Burt Reynolds?
Burt Reynolds?
Yeah, I think that was the only movie they ever
Oh,
made.
yes.
And they were a couple, and then I think they tried to get married and it didn't work because it just was, and when they were worked together and they were forced into the same situation of working together in the room, and they weren't allowed out of out of the room until they came up with something. And that music, and Patty Austin was singing, oh boy,
Amazing.
pretty powerful.
I've, and in doing the research of going to see them, it was so great because I'd hear all these stories. And one of the stories I loved hearing about them was their daughter who was young, and they were having career day or something at school. And they were saying, so what do your parents do or something? And she goes, I don't know what my mom and dad do. They go in this room and they just sit in there all day and kind of talk a little bit. And then they come out at night and, I don't know what they're doing. Which I just think is wonderful.
That's funny.
So anyway, we're at Marilyn Allen Bergman's house, and of course you're doing all your thing, and then I looked up, there's this shelf in their office that is just amazing. It's like nonstop Emmys, Grammys, Oscars.
Oh,
it's just
God.
and you just kind of are pinching yourself. It's like so historical and so amazing.
It's
And we're so
amazing,
grateful to Dave for letting us, have these experiences.
Yeah.
We also interviewed Dori Caymmi, which,
Yeah.
he's just, had never met him before, and what a love muffin he is.
Yeah. He's a
just
lovely man.
incredible guy, And then it took a long time. It took over a year, but we finally got to go interview Quincy Jones. And, going to his house is like, it's like a museum, I mean, that little display there was just for Thriller, and
Really?
and you're walking around and you're trying to set up all the equipment and everything, and it's just picture after picture after picture of just these parties and people, and there's bouquets on the table saying love Robert De Niro, I mean, it's another level of that you just can't even imagine. And
You guys look pretty relaxed there in that picture.
yeah,
That we had finished shooting.
we had
that's
finished shooting, and it was really great, and it was really kind of cool because we've had several experiences with him now. So every time we get together with him, it actually is starting to feel like he knows who we are, and it's like kind of exciting.
Yeah.
John sat down at the piano with him. I was taking pictures, and John sat down and did some stuff at the piano with him after we were done too, and that was really cool.
Nice.
And then, so we're like working on the film, and the other thing that's really interesting about Dave is that he's never promoted himself in any way, shape, or form. So our website for the film, which is grusinfilm.com, by the way, is starting to become this place that if anyone is interested in Dave Grusin, they go there, and they are now I'm getting emails from all over the world of people saying, how can I get the music for On Golden Pond, stuff, and I'm like, I don't know.
I've had people contact me and say, hey, can you send me, or do you have a copy of Mountain Dance, a score of Mountain Dance? And I asked, so I said, Dave, is there a chart or something? And he sent me this handwritten thing that was illegible, and I was like, I'm going to make a version of this. And so I transcribed like his
Oh, wow.
on Mountain Dance, which, so stuff like that. Just was kind of fun to get involved with. This is a picture of us at the
Well, I wanted to tell the story how this happened, so like I'm getting these emails, and I get this email one day from a guy named Chris, and he said, I'm Chris, and I'm a sound mixer, and I think I'd really like to do your film on Dave Grusin. And I was like, well, we're already kind of done, I think it turned out really great. John was managing all of that, and I just was kind of like, wow, that's really strange, to just kind of cold call and say, and he was very adamant, like, no, I have to do this film and everything. So I thought, okay, I'll just look him up on IMDb and see who this guy is. And of course, he's got 3 Oscars for sound mixing. And I was like, oh my God, I think we can work you in, and so we opened the film back up. But the reason that he did it he wanted to do it, is that Dave gave him his start. And he worked on like the Fabulous Baker Boys and The Firm and Random Hearts and all these amazing movies. And now he's doing Superman and Batman and the Marvel movies and, you know, Mad Max and winning Oscars and everything. So it was really important to him to do this film for Dave. And in hindsight, there have been so many miracles involved with this because now we know it's really good. Whereas if we'd been in a theater with Dave, you know, and it wasn't totally happening, you know, it would have been a little uncomfortable. But because Chris was involved, Chris Jenkins is the guy's name, you know, we know it's killer now. I mean, that was a really interesting experience too. Maybe you should even talk about that. What a amazing experience that was for us to see how big movies are mixed. I mean,
is this where it is?
It's in
This
Santa
is the
Monica.
sound?
it's in Santa Monica.
This is
And actually,
the,
Dave came to the mixing sessions. He's in the middle of that
Smart
photo.
Post West, I think
Yeah.
it is. And actually, the funniest thing was we were mixing, and we said, "Hey, Dave, do you want to come by and listen to the film and just see if you're, you know, just hang out?" And he's like, and he was in LA, and so he was like, "Okay." So he came by. We thought it'd be like an hour. He wound up staying for a day and a half, and
Which was
just
great.
totally into helping out, and it was really fun to work with him once again on something. It was really fun.
But it also makes us feel really good because he's happy with it, you know, and all of that.
yeah.
And it was such a learning experience. I mean, just the experience that I always talk about in terms of this, and you can probably relate this, Cathy. I don't know what it is. You need to talk technical. Uh-oh, did we lose it?
No, good.
We need to talk technical, but we were in this room where we were using all of Dave's music for the underscore of the film. And they were able to, on a pre-recorded track, you know, that's all burned in and you know, done, they could take the finger snaps from that track and move it to a different position in the room, you know, and it just messed up my mind so much because I sat there and I thought, how are they doing that? How are they picking out those little finger snaps out of the track and putting it into a different place in my hearing?
Yeah.
I still don't know what that was about, but John was having a heyday, of course, learning all these audio techniques that are in the, you know, that are unique to filmmaking. So that was really, really exciting and educational, to be sure.
Yeah. Did you guys,
So then we
you
went.
guys pay for this yourself? I'm just curious.
What's that?
Did you pay for this yourself?
No, no, we had actually investors in the film, and they were friends and family, and we got some grants, which was really great. And so it was, yeah, this is the first big thing we've done. And then, as John said, we went to the Montreux Jazz Festival. It was the first place we screened it, which was just amazing. And Quincy was there, and he did a Q&A with us after the film. And he was so nice. He just gave us like the VIP treatment. We were literally in the VIP room having champagne with all these people, and then it was really cool because in the VIP room at night, it turned into this wild party, and we were sitting at Quincy's table with Quincy and like hanging out and, you know, just kind of going, I can't believe this is happening. And then John went next door and went to this jam session, and he sat in at the Montreux Jazz Festival. So we're just like, couldn't believe it. It was great.
And then we got invited. We were there, and we got invited to go to San Moritz. They were having a jazz festival the following weekend, and we had planned to stay an extra week. So we went, and Stanley Clarke was playing. So we're like, oh, this will be really fun. We'll go.
He was
so
the headliner of the whole
festival.
festival.
We went to drive San Moritz, and we actually drove over the Furka Pass in Switzerland, which was really exciting.
Like the 10th most dangerous road in the world.
We didn't know that when we started, but we're like, we'll just drive over the Swiss Alps. We're used to mountains.
Kind of makes you sweat a little.
Oh yeah. Anyway, we were playing a gig. They were playing a gig. I'm sorry, they were playing a gig at a place. What was it called, the Dracula Club or something?
The Dracula Club. It's if anyone can ever go to this jazz festival, it's Festival de Jazz, and they hold this thing at a bobsledding. It's where they train the Olympic bobsledders.
Wow.
And he's taken over this club in the summer, and it's really high-end people of Switzerland. We just were like going, who are these people? And it was just amazing. And we were special guests because of Dave, because Dave has played there a couple times. He wasn't there this summer, but it was really
Had
amazing.
he just played there? Didn't he have played?
Yeah,
It was
maybe.
something weird like that.
Yeah, we missed him
yeah.
or something.
Anyway, so this was Stanley Clark's setup, which was just, the band was just phenomenal.
Yeah.
Young cats. Everybody, the oldest guy except for Stanley was 22. And we were staying in the same hotel as Stanley Clark. So like at 7 in the morning, I mean, we went to a club afterwards to try to hang out, and they were like all doing their thing. And it was like, you know what, we're just going to go home. And I got up at like 7 o'clock to go work out. And, I bump into Stanley Clark, and I are the only guys in the gym. And so we started talking. He was telling me all these great stories about Horace Silver and stuff. And so then we wound up having breakfast together. That was really, really fun.
Cool.
Do we want to like give a break here? We've been like talking nonstop.
Yeah, like do you need us to stop?
No, I think
Sure.
it's fine.
Okay. So after we did the whole Europe thing, we came back to New Mexico and just kind of went, and so we did a screening at our hometown, Santa Fe, and this is the Lensick Theater that we talked to you about a minute ago. So there's Dave, and that's what it looks like on.
But that was that we still hadn't showed the whole film yet. We were like,
it was like a preview, and this was the first time we had like a sold out crowd, and we're sitting in the back of the theater. And for me, the thing that's really interesting about filmmaking is that you think you're doing something good, but you don't really know.
Yeah, until the end, right?
It's like when you record an album. It's like you put it out there, and you kind of go, is anybody going to get this? And so to sit in the back of the auditorium and hear people laughing and clapping for on-screen performances and all this stuff was just, it was the first time we said, okay, maybe this turned out okay.
Wow. That must have been quite a mind-blowing time.
Oh yeah, and then it was so great because Dave came to that and he gave a solo piano concert.
Oh my God.
And it was sort of a vision that we held the whole time, is that we wanted him to walk out onto stage after and he got this just ridiculous standing ovation, and people just did not want him to stop playing. He played all of his movie themes, solo piano, and it was great.
Wow.
And then we went from there to the Monterey Jazz Festival, where it was sort of like Dave Grusin Day. He did a Q&A in the afternoon for everybody, moderated by Ashley Kahn, and then we showed the film in the afternoon, and then he did another solo piano concert at night. No, that's actually the Moss Theater. We came back from the Monterey Jazz Festival and did the Moss Theater in Santa Monica. So we were on a little bit of a roll there for a while, and just kind of, and Dave was really participating, which was awesome because it just meant so much to people to see his story and then watch him play the piano. He still got it. I mean, he's still got it. He's 86 now, and he has still got it. It's so inspiring to watch him play. And then we went on the film festival circuit, and we went to Bozeman, Montana, and Jeff Bridges showed up because he's in the film, and so we did a Q&A with Jeff Bridges, and we're backstage with him and hanging out. He's just like the coolest guy ever. And then we can just kind of go quickly through these next. I just went to all these film festivals, like in Rhode Island. We won first place there. We did a screening in Los Angeles with Quincy Jones and Marcus Miller were there, and that was cool. That's a panel with Marcus Miller, and he's in the film. He's featured prominently in the film, and he's another person that just loves Dave, which was an interesting thing to realize, that Dave hired Marcus Miller when he was in high school
to play on
Mountain Dance and a bunch of things, and all this funky. I mean, I really hope that you and everybody will get to watch the film, because it's really surprising the journey that Dave Grusin has gone on. And I think one of the things that is the most amazing about him, it's not just what he did for himself and his career, but the number of people whose careers he basically started through GRP Records. And like Marcus Miller, he went up to Harlem and was scouting all these young black players from Jamaica, Queens, and signed them all to record deals and stuff, and was playing with Tom Brown and all these people. And Dave would come out from the recording booth and play on the tracks and stuff. And I mean, it's just amazing how many people's lives he has touched and how inspired they were to be a part of our film because of that. You know, like they really feel like they owe their careers to Dave, you know, and it's really lovely.
Very powerful. I can't wait to see it.
Yeah, it's
Nathan
really
East, and who's the gentleman on the right?
That's Don Grusin, his brother.
Oh,
another
okay.
Grammy winner, and Nathan East came to one of our screenings. And
this was the one in Albuquerque.
Albuquerque, and
this is where Dave won a big.
He got the Robert Redford Creative Achievement Award after our screening, which was really cool. And we won Best New Mexico Film. Wow. And we won the audience favorite in Knoxville, Tennessee, in that film festival, and that was like really great. And Miami Jewish Film Festival. We've been in about 20 festivals and won quite a few awards. Here's another one, Award of Excellence. And then for me personally, it was really great because I got to go to Minnesota, which is where I grew up, and this was a screening we had there, and then we went to dinner afterwards, and all my high school friends came. That was just like so cool, you know? I mean, I hadn't seen some of these people for decades, and they all came to the film and hung out, and it was so great. And then our biggest, most fun festivals, we went to Rome, Italy, and there's the film with Italian subtitles, which was really fun. And they took us to dinner because we had come from, I think, the furthest away or something, and everybody at dinner was from another country. It was Venezuela and Russia, and, you know, it's just so cool to be in an international crowd, you know, having dinner. In fact, we met somebody, this guy who had contacted me through the email and said, yeah, I see you're coming, let us take you out to dinner. And so we went to this jazz club, and John ended up sitting in, again, you know, everywhere we go, John sits in, and it's just the most wonderful.
And he sits in and everybody's like, wow.
Yeah, he's the producer of the film, and they're going, whoa, you know, like, which is cool. And we got Best Documentary Film there, and then we got to do a lot of sightseeing. This is my pandemic photo. It's like, here we are in the Roman Colosseum, and I always look at it, you know, and think, well, things could be worse. You could have been there. And then we won Best Editing at the Beverly Hills Film Festival, and that was the end of that because the pandemic kicked in and it all stopped. So now it's streaming online, and I hope everybody will go check it out because
I'm going to check it out absolutely as soon as possible.
It seems that musicians especially, I mean, it's so amazing after screenings, even people that didn't know who Dave was and got kind of dragged to the film by a friend or something have come up to me after, and to John after the film, and said, oh my God, I was in tears so many times during this film.
Wow.
And that was surprising to us and not really our intention, but I think right now it has another significance. I think it's an antidote almost to what's going on right now. It's all of Dave's beautiful music is the underscore for this film. And his story is just so positive. I mean, he started as this cowboy in Colorado and literally became, you know, and again, Dave has never promoted himself. And as Lee Ritenour says in the film, people have no idea the extent of his career. If you go to our website, there's a drop down that shows his body of work that you can click on, and it's unbelievable. I mean, for a long time, we were going to call the movie, he did that? Because it just kept being this nonstop discovery of, I didn't know he was the music director for the Andy Williams Show. I didn't know he worked with Billy Joel and Chaka Khan and Paul Simon and James Taylor. And, you know, I mean, it just went on and on. How many TV shows he scored, how many movies he scored, how many Oscars he's been nominated for. I mean, his company, GRP Records, was nominated for 80 Grammy Awards. I mean, it's just, it's just an incredible career that we are so proud to share with people because, and no one has anything bad to say about Dave. That's the other thing, the respect that he commands in the industry. I mean, how many people do you know that have a 60-year career in movies and television and the recording industry, and nobody has anything bad to say about him? I mean, it's just been so inspiring to be around him and
I just
tell
like
his
his
story.
playing.
Yeah.
I just like listening to him play, and every single time it's just like he just has this amazing touch, and it just, I never get tired of it. It's just like really cool, and just it inspires me to play differently, instead of being so aggressive. He just kind of has this way of creating this sort of magic scenarios, with his sound paintings. So.
That's
Anyways,
lovely.
I feel like I've been talking nonstop.
Well, that's okay, because there's a lot to say. It's very exciting to hear about it, and it's also, for me, and I think for other people, but I'm just going to speak for me. It's there's some kind of acknowledgement. Maybe that's why people cry. It's because well, listening to you speak about it, and I'm sure what happened in the movie is it touches upon something that when I hear a great artist and I cry from it, it's because they have touched on something that is so intimate inside of me that needs acknowledgement, apparently. And when I have that, and it doesn't have to be verbal, obviously, then I cry because it's been acknowledged. And I think that's probably what you're speaking, what I'm expecting to have an experience from what you've said. And I think it's amazing. And I also am aware that it's because of who you guys are that it turned out like that. And what's lovely to know and to see is that you were inspired, and then how things progressed. You noticed things. You noticed, I'll call them opportunities, but you noticed things, and you thought, oh, that would be nice or interesting, and then you went forward, and then something else showed you. So it's really quite special that you guys, what you guys accomplished, and it's definitely about you. And of course it's about Dave, and it's about the bigger picture, but it's definitely about you too. You're definitely part of the ingredients of the whole recipe, which it's beautiful. I'm very touched by the whole thing. I'm sure people listening are too. I'm sure
Yeah,
they
I
are.
think I just really want to highly recommend it because, like I said, in this day and age, we're all looking for positive stories, and it reminds everybody of that really beautiful time in the music industry, when people were doing a lot of work. I mean, there's so much on the cutting room floor, too. I think we're going to create some podcasts because when we were talking to Tommy LaPuma and Russ Teitelman and all these people about the way the music industry used to be, in New York City, I had a map for a while of all the recording studios in New York City. And I mean, they were on every corner, and there was this lifestyle where these...
Or floors in a building.
Yeah, and where there's lifestyles where, these guys are just walking around with their acts, and just, they're doing a session in the morning here and a thing in the afternoon. And I mean, it happens, especially in Los Angeles. But it was so accelerated, and it was this... And everybody was making music live, I mean, together in the studio. And it was just this lifestyle and way of making music that doesn't happen so much anymore, And so I think that's another thing that really moves musicians to just revisit that time, when all of that was happening. And the budgets were, as Tommy said, $400,000 for a record album, a CD.
Or actually, they were LPs at the time.
Yeah, because you knew you were going to sell a minimum of 5 million albums. So, I It's just amazing, you know. And also the film industry, how directors and films, you know, composers worked in a different way than they do now. You know, much more collaborative and much more.
Anyway, all
Yeah.
the stuff is in there.
Yeah, it's all in the movie.
They can get it. But it's I think more interesting is like we were not funded by like a major studio, and we didn't have any kind of commercial pressures to do a film for the movie industry. We did it out of respect and out of interest in this interesting life and this fascinating path that he went on. And yeah, it's a different kind of motivation for making a film. I mean, I feel like a lot of musicians are not necessarily producing films and making films with it from a musician's point of view. They're making films from like, let's get all the famous guys, you know, and get them in there, and we have some of those, but it's really a film about a person's process and how they get to where they get to, and it just, I think we have a little different perspective about what we're trying to do. It's like, you know, this is like our third career, if you will, and it just feels like we're just going to do things that are really, really meaningful to us and beautiful, and not driven by financial, you know, purposes or motivations.
And how could you even have a better experience? Sounds like you had the best experience ever.
Yeah.
And
I think we also just our company is really committed to creating positive images, you know, for the planet. You know, there's so much other stuff out there, you know. It seems to be, you know, that you almost feel like a salmon swimming upstream, you know, with like, this is just a really positive film and an uplifting, inspiring. It's like, you know, it's hard to cut through.
It's Dave's story that's positive. Yeah. I mean, you know,
that's what we wanted.
If it was a tragic character, I guess we'd have to show the tragedy, but that's not his story. And it's just so fascinating, like Barbara said, you know, when you're talking about a guy who grew up in Littleton, Colorado, how the heck did he become this, you know, international celebrity superstar musician and still maintain an integrity as a player? I mean, like to this day, I still love to hear him play, you know. And so it's like that to me is awesome, the humility and yet the vision and the hard working and the craftsmanship that he exudes. And
we should play one of his solo piano songs or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you want to hear some?
Do we have the rights to it?
You could play some Dave Grusin music.
Can we?
Yeah.
Do we have the rights to it?
We
better hold off on that.
You could do.
Letting go?
Yeah. I don't know. It's probably not in your computer. It's in mine. So.
Well, aside from that, maybe we should hear some of you guys' music too. But I do have a few little comments. Rebecca Arthur Golden said you two haven't changed in 20 years.
Rebecca Arthur used to be on the TV show Perfect Strangers. She was Balky's girlfriend. She's one of our friends from LA. Yay,
I said you guys haven't changed in 20 years. I agree. You guys look good. And Judy Silvano's here, and she's saying congratulations.
Oh.
Yeah, you did a good job. Yeah, Joyce was asking what years were the New York heyday. It was probably the 70s or something, 60s, 70s, right?
GRP started in 78.
You're talking about, they're saying New York heyday. So like that's probably the 60s. There were a lot of studios in New York.
LA too was like that. Musicians worked 4 hours on one session, went to another session right away. Yeah.
But it kind of really built up in the 70s and the 80s.
Yeah.
I think they had invested a lot of money in studios and television studios in New York. And it was all kind of in this 54th Street, 7th Avenue and 8th Avenue kind of area. You know, it's like a certain area where they had all these recording studios. It was kind of cool.
Yeah.
Also, I think that, you know, Ernie Watts is in our movie, and he talked about that in LA at the time, you know, every network had their own orchestra, you know, like
Yeah.
NBC,
Yeah.
CBS, whatever. And they were all doing these variety shows, you know, like Annie Williams and Carol Burnett and, you know, Sonny and Cher, you know, I mean, all these, and he said, yeah, all these guys, like hundreds of guys, had 40-hour work week with benefits, and you know,
Yeah.
it was just an amazing
Different time.
time. You
Yeah.
know, there was so much work.
That was kind of the migration, though, to Los Angeles, I think, in the business, because before that, before all that television industry motion, New York was kind of like the center of video, if you will. I mean, they were making TV shows in New York, but
Yeah.
then I think they ran out of space, and you need a lot of space to do TV shows, to have all these sets and everything. So,
When Johnny Carson moved to California, that was a big. I think that was a big deal. You know, people were like, "Why are you moving to LA?" And he said, "Well, you know." And then all the other shows started coming, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. Also, Judy said Carol Friedman is producing a film about Abby Lincoln.
Oh,
great.
cool.
Yeah.
Would love to see that.
Wow.
Yeah.
John, how about hearing some of your music, a little bit of your
Okay,
music?
I have a video I could queue up if you want.
Okay, that'd be great.
This is it's a segment, but I think you'll enjoy it. It's a tune that I wrote called Denial, and it's a band that I started working with. This is from last year at the Outpost. So
Okay. Now I'm going to take this opportunity, because I'll be in a tiny little screen, to actually go to the ladies' room.
okay, great.
But I'm still
Thanks
going to
for
hear it.
sharing.
I'll still hear it, because I'll have the door open and the
Great.
sound up.
Okay, great. That was funny.
I love this.
All right, hold on a second. Let me do this right here. Wait, I caught her. There we go. These are still on. Oh.
I think you're kind of soft.
Uh-oh. Is it not good? Hold on a second. I'm going to stop it real quick.
Okay.
I think I have to share my audio if I'm doing Zoom. So,
Yeah, when you share your screen, there's a choice to share the computer's audio.
yeah, and I'm trying to find that window and I'm not seeing it. Sorry about that.
Cathy, Gigi Barad just wants to say hi to you.
Hi.
For some reason, I don't have that option. I usually do.
Who is this? These look young people.
Yeah, this is so Paul Palmer Jr. is on drums, and Sean Johnson is on tenor sax, and then Cyrus Campbell is on bass, and J.Q. Wickham is playing trumpet, and they're. Let me just say, I'm feeling old being around them, but they're all like really wonderful players and really into playing my music, which I'm grateful for. So, but of course, I cannot find that. I know there's a button, and I usually have it all the time handy. Oh, you may. Right, hold on. Let's see. Why is this not working?
So when you first go to share the
Mm-hmm.
screen, that's where it comes up.
When you say new share. Oh, right. There it is. Sorry. Thank you.
You're
One more
welcome.
time. I think this will sound a little better.
Okay.
Oops. Hold on. Wait a second. Oh, you may.
It's all right. This is a very casual moment.
I know. It's like, hello, how are you? It's building here. Maybe this will sound better. Uh-oh. So
There you
we're
go.
muted now.
Think a little louder. Could you bring up the sound? Volume? Can you hear me? Hello?
Is that okay?
Can you hear me?
Jeez.
Can you hear me? No.
She's waving at something. She's waving.
Can
Is
you
there
hear
a
me?
problem?
I'm speaking.
You need to
Hello?
go back. This is not good.
Okay. We're going to work this out a little bit.
I can't hear her.
Right. I'm trying to tell you,
Stop share.
and maybe I can.
Are we back?
Hi, can you hear me?
Are we back?
Can you hear me now?
Uh-oh.
Hello?
Hello.
Hello. I am speaking to you. Hi, Dina DeRose. I see you. We're just,
Sorry
Dina,
about that.
we just talked about their movie about Dave Grusin. It's definitely a must see, and just super fantastic stuff. Can you hear me still?
Yeah, can you hear us?
Oh, good. Okay, now I can hear you. I can't see you, but
Okay. Yeah.
so
fix
that music was very soft, and also you couldn't hear me speak. So
Yep.
maybe I should share a YouTube thing. Are you on YouTube? Hello?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
Let me
I am on
try.
YouTube.
Let
I
me
groaned.
try and share you from YouTube because,
I'm scared.
well, you can tell me what to pick. So, it doesn't have to be anything that you don't want me to show, but
You could do something. What do you?
We could do, do you want to try and salvage you playing, or we could do the listen here thing?
Oh,
Or
yeah. How about that? How about if we just play some audio?
No, it's not, it's a video.
It is?
Yeah, the listen here
Is
video.
it on here? Did you send it to me?
John
It's in the back.
Rangel. Now,
We can't do it.
this is not you, right? John
No.
Rangel music, just the Star Trek picture. Is that you?
Yeah,
No, yeah.
but forget that.
But you know what? Let's play a little. Let's do a little. Let's take a shift. Go to search "Listen Here"
Okay.
and Barbara Bentree,
Okay.
and see if that comes up. I can't remember how it's listed on YouTube. Or no, it's on Vimeo. I don't.
It's on Vimeo?
Oh, see, we put everything we do on Vimeo.
I could send her a link. She could put it in the chat.
Yeah.
So I just had to find it. Hold on.
I think it should be on my page, though, too. Barbara Bentree. If you search Barbara Bentree, it might be there.
But she's on YouTube. She's on YouTube.
Oh, no. Don't
She has
do
to be
it.
in Safari or a browser.
Oh, here's listen. No, is this it right here?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's it. That's it. That's it. Okay, so I should do an
Is that
introduction.
really you or is that somebody else?
No, it's from the film. When Black Lives Matter started to really hit, I was very upset And one day I said, you know what, I'm going to, like Meryl Streep said, put your heart into your art. And I was so disturbed that I just made this little video. And John's playing the piano, I'm singing, and this is just something I came up with in a day.
Okay, nice.
Wait, the video or the recording?
I hope they can hear it.
That's a cool logo.
When you're still, do you hear one small voice, crystal clear, saying, listen here, my friend, listen here. Well, that voice is not your own, and it speaks to you alone. You can count on me, it says, so listen here. This is you, this is real, this is truly the way you feel. You can run, you can hide. Oh, but sometime, someplace, each of us winds up face to face with that little voice inside. So we hope and we yearn and we live and sometimes learn from that little voice that whispers crystal clear, and we each hear the call because it's calling to us all. Follow me, it says, never fear. Listen here, listen here. Listen here.
Wow. Beautiful.
Thanks.
Wow. That was really beautiful.
Thanks. So yeah, that was just something that I was so upset, you know, when George Floyd and all of that happened, and you just sometimes feel like, what do I do, you know? So it was very cathartic to just make that little piece and shoot it out into the world.
Yes. Sorry, I'm looking for my Facebook page. Yeah. Well, I can, you know, get your blushing out because I'm going to say some more things. First of all, your singing is so centered and intimate and focused. These are words that I like, you know, to as a singer and a teacher. And I like to imagine, you know, a very fine focus and accomplish that. Your sound is just beautiful, very beautiful. And in areas on that song where you could like swell and get louder, you stayed in this beautiful space, which was really it was a surprise and it was beautiful. It was really nice.
Thank you.
Your expression was gorgeous, and your piano playing was beautiful. Of course, John Rangel, and of course,
I had a lot to work with.
the interrelationship was really beautiful. And so, did you, when you make a little film like that, do you go and find these video images, or do you make them yourself?
Well, that song is something that I do in live performance a lot because, like, I usually have some sort of message, you know, whether it's about the environment or animals or women's rights or something that it's a wonderful closer on my shows sometimes, you know, just to have everybody stop and to do something really quiet, as an encore even or something. And it has gotten such a response that I actually recorded it and put it on my one solo CD. So I already had the music, and then I just cut the images to the song. So that's where.
So the images, do they exist, and you went and found them, or did you make them?
They're from, you know, you can go to places like, one of my favorites is Video Blocks, and there are a lot of houses that have, you know, stock footage basically that you can search through. And I mean, I literally put that together in about 12 hours, you know, just, it's pretty easily done, you know, and I hope it inspires other people to do that, you know.
Yeah, I was asking because I was curious if that was your work. And also I actually came out with a single about 2 months ago of Make Me Want to Holler, and I felt inclined to create a little, so I found still images, and that was really fun. It was it was enjoyable to fit that with the music and my emotions. I just wondered if that was your work as far as film, you know, like actually taking the film, some of it. It was beautiful.
You know, because we're relatively new filmmakers, we get the question a lot of, you know, well, how did you know how to do this and everything? And I would just really encourage musicians, especially during this time when you might have time to explore. I think that filmmaking is very musical. You know, it's using all the same elements. It's rhythm, juxtaposition, accelerando, diminuendo, you know, and it's just, you know, we've all been in the recording studio forever, so you understand sort of the digital process and everything, and now it's just adding the visual too. And I think it's really cool and to be a musician filmmaker because it comes really naturally. I've been surprised. I mean, how relatively easy it is. You know, I find
Yeah.
myself making decisions about editing and stuff, and I don't really even know why.
Have you been the editor in these processes and not John?
Well, so that's a good question. So like for the most part, Barbara puts together like a rough assembly, and then we like in the case of the Grusin film, we put a rough assembly together, which was her storytelling, if you will, of all of the interviews and images. And then we went to LA and worked with Keaton, who's an incredible editor. And that was an education too. I mean, working with her was just delightful and amazing. But I would say Barbara's pretty much does all of the heavy lifting in terms of putting the story together with the films. And what I do, as far as being a producer, is really about audio and about mixing. And
He recorded all the sound, all the interviews for the sound.
And tech support and all that kind of stuff. And I also do film editing, and have been doing it for years and years and years. And
You did special effects.
I did special effects.
He's a financial manager. I'm the caterer. We both do location.
Yeah, we're quite a team, I have to say. And actually, in a good way, you know, it keeps things, you know, minimized. But one thing that's really interesting is to know what league you're in. And I just felt like the Grusin film was like we were really jumping into another league. And so I gladly gave up the dialogue editing and the sound mixing to Chris Jenkins and Colin Lechner, who did our dialogue editing and also put together like the basic mix and stuff. And learned a lot because of it. I mean, if I had like, you know, thought, you know, oh, I can do this, then I wouldn't have learned anything. And so it was really great to just watch them work and just the conversations and about the sound. And I mean, we did the surround sound version is amazing, and that was just education. But anyway,
well, see I have to interrupt you for one second because that is actually, to me, what's really important about living life well is moving forward and recognizing when something is there, you know, to be part of what's going on. So you guys obviously have done that. So I want to applaud you for that.
And then the other thing in terms of cinematography, we worked with, you know, 3 great cinematographers for the Grusin film. And that was an experience too, because, you know, everybody thinks they can shoot video and stuff. And we're in the age of video where everybody's doing, you know, Zoom conversations and all this stuff and Google Meets, all this stuff. But when you work with these, I mean, we would spend an hour doing lights, you know, and just watching the way that they set up the shots and really brought out the best look for each of the characters in the film. It just was, I was just like, wow, I had no idea people spent that much time on this. And that was really inspiring, and it's changed now how to look at things, to be honest, and just cameras and what, you know, what frame rates mean and what the, you know, ISOs are and all these little video terms that I'm starting to understand a little bit more, and that's just been really kind of intriguing, and it's a different kind of mixing when you're mixing, you know, video.
I think that's the other thing that it came naturally to us in some ways, because it's not unlike being in a band, you know, it's like everybody has their specialty, and it's just a matter of knowing how to tap into everyone's special gifts and create this team, and everyone's a specialist in their area, you know, so it was exciting to just see all these layers kind of come together. Like, I'll never forget the first time we were in Montana, and our cinematographer, drone photography was just starting to kind of come into being, now you see it in everything, you know. But he said, yeah, I have a new drone camera. He goes, I'll throw it in and bring it with me, you know, and we're like, okay, whatever. And the day we were out on the river with Dave, and, you know, he just started flying this drone camera everywhere, and you'll see it. It's the opening shot in the whole film, and it's like, we came home that night and opened up the files for the day, and we were like, oh my God, it just went to like a whole nother level. Was that something we planned? No. Did it totally transform the film? Yeah. And it was just really fun to have things like that happen, you know, and based on just someone bringing their gift and, you know, it's just like a
Kind of
band.
knowing
And
that you're probably going to want to have some drone stuff on the ranch, you know, it's like, yeah, probably.
yeah. So it just was a nonstop education for us, and collaboration. You know, I mean, I think that's the other thing that is so fascinating, to move into this place of our life where it is a requirement. You have to collaborate so much, you know, and it just kept getting better and better. And it really was our training as musicians and improvisers, you know, to be able to roll with the punches and like, oh, that's not going to work today. Okay, what are we going to do? You know, kind of, which we've all done our whole career, right? You know.
Yeah. Okay, now I do want to play a little of John's playing. So I'm going to go to Spotify again. And so you're just going to have to be on this. So from this Pages album, what should I play?
How about Animism?
Okay. Here's John Rangel. And I'm sorry, who's on this record with you?
It's Larry Williams on trumpet and Rick Keller on tenor sax, and this
Wow,
track
Rick
is
Keller. I haven't heard that name in so long.
Edwin Livingston is playing bass,
One of my favorites.
and Joe LaBarbera is on drums.
Cool. Okay, so we are going to be big as life on here because I won't put it on. I won't put it on screen share. But here we go.
Every week, just for you.
Oh,
Every Monday,
Animism.
you get a
Come on.
fresh
Oh,
playlist of 30 songs.
Sorry.
Based on other
you can tell I have the free the free Spotify. I don't know. I mean, I should probably pay for the professional, but I'm paying for so many of the professional ones, you know. When did you come out with this? 2006.
Yeah.
Here we go. Yeah. Slam
Yay.
it. Slamming.
It's my love ballad.
Exactly. That's great. Actually, John, as it was playing, I realized I think you introduced me to Edwin.
Oh, okay.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
He's such a great guy.
he's a great person, great
Amazing
player.
player.
Yeah, just so great. My latest recording, which is I'm releasing these singles as it goes along because just
Sure.
you know how life is. I'm actually
Yeah.
getting ready to release another single, but so I have two bands and he's in one of the bands with Anthony Wilson and Lorca Hart and Josh Nelson.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And
Awesome.
Josh, I just saw Josh and Lorca were here
Oh,
in the fall, and they did a
which
concert
wall?
last fall.
Oh, okay.
Lorca's from New Mexico, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So
His
he comes
mom,
here a lot,
his mom
actually.
lives in Albuquerque. Josh was playing with him, and Michael Glenn was on bass. But it was, yeah, those guys. Josh is just, amazing. He was actually playing. He was here with his trio too, which is kind of cool. And he was playing at the Lensic with some pop singer, and it was just killer. It was so
Yeah.
good.
He's a really wonderful player, extremely creative.
Yep.
Um, yeah, I'll have to send you my Dreamsville record with
Oh,
him,
please do.
Larry Kuntz, and he and I.
Oh, man.
Well,
It was
Great.
that was one of the more enjoyable recordings I've ever made, I think.
Hmm.
well.
Yeah, it's just
Larry
extremely
Coons
deep.
is another guy, just vocabulary for days and just taste, just a quality guitar player,
Yeah,
you know.
We
I
do miss that about Los
Yeah.
Angeles. Those guys, just being available and able to go hear them.
yeah, I know. It's really an interesting community experience. It is. And that's why, like, when I've thought of moving away from here, I'm like, it's kind of a little hard to imagine not being able to call John Rangel up and just, hey, John, you want to get together or have a gig or.
Right.
Yeah.
But your thing, I mean, you're such a collaborator. I mean, you're just the way you play. To me, it's like your listening energy is such a high level, and it's just I always enjoyed that about working with you. It was just that feeling of like anything was possible, and you were going to respond to what I did, and there was this really wonderful dialogue, which I never felt like just an accompanist with you.
Thank you. Yes, that is true. I feel that very strongly. So, and you guys, but could you speak up just a little bit, a few minutes about how you came up, where you came up, and did you come up kind of with the mindset of where you ended up?
Well, I grew up in New York City, and it was
Manhattan.
yeah, and I
Wow,
grew up,
really?
yeah,
Wow.
and just it was a great place to learn music and be inspired to play music. Everybody in my family was a musician,
Hmm.
including my grandmother was a jazz piano player.
Huh?
So that was kind of cool. But I wasn't that serious, but I was really into sports until I went to high school, and then I kind of got into music more. Not, I wouldn't say seriously, but I started practicing more, and then I went to University of Rochester and wound up taking all my classes at Eastman,
Huh.
and eventually realized I think I'm a musician, I'm not an optical engineer, and so I came back to New York and went to like a city college that through the musicians union, which was really cool, and studied with Stanley Cowell and John Breckeen
Huh.
and Richie Byrek and Kenny Warner, and in New York, and then I kind of went on the road and moved to Florida, and then worked at Disney World and played a lot of jazz gigs down there. A lot of great jazz musicians in Orlando, which was really surprising.
University of Miami is a big influence, isn't it?
No, it's more
Yeah.
like they have work.
Yeah, that's
They
true.
get a day job, which is like working in a theme park, and then you can go play really fun gigs at night. And so there was a lot of great players there. I played with Ira Sullivan, who just passed
Oh,
2 weeks ago, a whole bunch of times in Florida, in Orlando, and Nat Adderley was there, and Sam Rivers was there.
Oh, wow.
And so, and then I met Barbara and moved out to LA to be with her, and we had, it was kind of an eye opener because when I got to LA, Kenny Kirkland was there, and I mean I remember hearing him playing with Branford and even trio stuff, and I was just like, I have no idea what he's doing. So I kind of went back to the woodshed and just started relearning music again because I was just like, I need more to grow here, and it was wonderful, and it just kind of really expanded my thing. But that's when I met Phil View and Willie Jones and Dwight Tribble, and so I started playing with Dwight in like 1995,
Oh,
and you know,
Went to Japan with them and
yeah, South Africa,
and Europe and
oh,
yeah, it just turned out to be just a wonderful eye opener. I mean, because I remember playing at the world stage and just feeling like,
uh-oh.
what's going on here? I'm gonna keep talking.
okay.
But he was kind of taught me a lot about what not to play, and also gave me so much freedom, which normally you don't get with singers.
Yeah.
And that was like literally we would play tunes, and sometimes they would last 45 minutes, and it would just go on and on and on in one chord,
Right.
And that was kind of new for me and really fun. And then through Dwight, like Billy Higgins, we did a project with Billy, and so that was like a year or so that we played with Billy a lot.
Oh, wow.
And it was like sort of last year he was around. It was after he had his first liver transplant. Anyway, more information you need to know. But yeah, so I guess what my intention was all along was I always wanted to be a composer, and I liked playing jazz piano, but I never really thought I would be like a jazz piano expert kind of guy.
Yeah.
But I really loved composing, and I loved making music, producing music too. And that was just really turned me on, to stuff. But then, as I started studying more jazz, and I started realizing how much I didn't know because of the history, if you will, of jazz. And I remember when I moved to LA, I had like 100 CDs, and when I left, I had about 3,500. And it just and I listened to them all, and it was like everything from Lee Morgan to Miles Davis to Coltrane, and just collecting all these Horace Silver records and Phineas Newborn and Lenny Tristano and all these people that I just went on these binges, where I was just and Barb will thank God she put up with me because the CD collection just kept growing. She's looking at me,
Are we gonna get a new car?
yeah, do you have enough CDs or what? But it was like one of those things where just every penny that I had went into my education and learning more about music and wanting to bring that music forth, and realizing that I really wasn't interested in playing pop music anymore and doing anything that was not coming from this tradition of jazz and this school of jazz music lineage, if you will. And so I guess my intention has always been to be a light for that type of music, which is to me the most extraordinary humans on the planet, are jazz musicians, because it takes so much. They put so much into it. Their whole life is dedicated to listening and to practicing and to learning more things and adding more to the tool set and just being spiritually and not being financially driven at all about making the music. And for instance, I got to play with Horace Tapscott, or hang out with him. I didn't get to play with him, but I got to hang out with him. And then Billy Higgins and people like Dr. Art Davis and all these really extraordinary players that are not like on the main circuit kind of jazz things, at least at the time. And they were so inspiring. They were so deep and so profound in every note and every choice that they made. And there was this thing that washed over me, especially being down at Lamert Park and just being part of that whole situation and scene down there, and just like I just learned something completely different. It was my sort of finishing school, if you will, just about the intention of music and the spirituality of music, and that just shifted my intention, if you will, of why I'm here. It's like what's the point of making these notes. It's, this sort of this thing where you can transform the audience, transform yourself, uplift your soul. There's a great quote from Johannes Brahms, one of my favorite ones. He says, "Music is supposed to uplift the soul." And I always thought about that when I played, and just like, what can I do to bring my spirit to this? I mean, I have a lot of sort of mental faculties and things that I know I can do, but what's the spiritual choice? What's the spiritual motivation here? And so I'm going off on it, but
Yeah,
that's always been my
yeah.
intention, when I started. And where's the spirit?
I used to love Durf Reclaw used to talk about going to gigs, and he's a great congo player, and he said, I would just look out at the room and I'd see who was there, and I'd see what kind of healing everybody needed tonight. I was like, yeah.
That's really nice.
Isn't it?
Yeah, that's really nice. Yeah, John, it's nice to hear what your upbringing and your perspective was. And yeah, it's great. It's great to hear that, um, to have a real understanding of where you're going, and what you want, and have these realizations along the way, right?
Yeah, and it's so beautiful. That's why um, I I always admire your singing and your performing, because I just love watching you communicate. And it's just something that, when in this world of karaoke tracks, where people are just, they treat you like a human karaoke, play these exact notes, we'll be on camera, you know, and I'll do my thing. And it's like, to me, there's something very, there's something missing in that equation. It's not bad, but it's just missing. And I've experienced so much camaraderie amongst musicians and play. Like Tamir said something really cool to me one time. I came over to his house and he was getting ready to record a record. And he goes, "Hey, can you take a solo on these changes?" And I was like, "What?" It's like, "Man, come on, Tamir, you don't need me to do that. You're so good, like." And he's like, "No, really, I want to." I was like, "Come on, man, you know, I don't even know this song." And it was like, "Well, no, I'm just." And he goes, "In the spirit of play," and I was like, "Oh wow, you got me in the spirit of play." So okay, I'm going in, and I took a solo and recorded it or whatever, and we talked about the tune and whatever. But it was the spirit of play is something that I I miss, honestly, like right now more than anything, is that sense where things germinate with me and a drummer or a bass player or singer or something, and that like we have this muscle that's really developed of listening and tuning into each other, and it's just something that
I
is
agree.
not happening right now. I think that the compositional part is cool, and I've been doing a lot of cool stuff like that, but I do miss this sort of honest, chance, adventure, really. I mean, it's in a way, jazz is very noble in that you don't know if you're going to play anything that sounds good. I mean, you have no idea. You have all this great attention. I mean, you could sit down and play a classical concert, which I do a lot, actually, and I know what the notes are going to sound like, and it's like almost like I just have to be present and deliver the story. But in jazz, I have no idea what's going to happen, and that adventure has always been the beautiful part, and that's why I love Dwight so much, is because like that guy, he just goes for it, and like he'll do things, and I'll be like, is that a singer? What is he doing? And like, but we're so both of us are so invested in just the energy part of it, and the joy and the play, and so yeah.
I interviewed him
I
finally.
know, I saw it.
That was that
I
was
missed
really
that one.
fun. Yeah. But well, yesterday I was actually down in Leimert Park because Barbara Morrison, she's friggin' amazing. She really is.
Incredible.
And she's had some more health issues like
Mm.
really recently, and she's still there, doing the thing. Anyway, she's pretty amazing. But so she's starting she's starting a show. She's putting together a show, and yesterday there were 1, 2, 3, 4 singers with the same band, and
Wow.
and we each did we took about 2 hours. We did a very small amount of interview, and then we performed 5 songs and, moved on. But, especially now where you're not singing, you're not out there singing, and singers need to, it's a little harder, I think, as a singer to sit down and sing for a few hours like you would on an instrument. You have this instrument, and, it's kind of an instrumentalist is really geared towards practicing and playing, and singers have a little different, you really have to make that happen. And anyway, so I felt really, I had all the normal kind of awarenesses shifting around, like, oh, I'm listening to the drummer, or, oh, I'm listening, or I'm just, as Carmen Bradford says, leaving room for God in the room. And, just all these states of mind that you do. But there were these moments that I felt what you're just describing, John, like this relationship and play, and you really have to have a patience, right? There's patience, because you have to really allow things to happen.
Yeah, because if I go off in a direction and nobody else goes with me, then I'm like, oh wow, like nobody got it. Or if I do, if I miss something, somebody would play something real obvious, and I'm like, God, why didn't I play with that? That was such a good idea, and I was like holding on to something else, And so there's definitely a battle with the sort of conscious and the unconscious, like Deepak Chopra talks about the soul being the passenger in the car, like the mind is the driver, but the passenger is the one that actually can enjoy the trip, and go places without having to steer, and just really be there. But sometimes it doesn't happen because we get caught up, we get distracted by something, and so I'm just really working on that, just trying to be present and be available to connect and to listen, and I love, and that's the thing that's so cool. Billy Childs came out here. I was doing a master class at my school, and it was so cool because I arranged a tune for this jazz band and like string orchestra for one of these tunes called Quiet Girl that he wrote, and he said, yeah, so I says, what do you guys want to play? Because he thought we were going to play blues. And I said, how about Quiet Girl? And he went, what? So so they all played it, and it was really cool. And he played the piano and stuff, and we were talking. And he was saying, well, that's a really cool arrangement. And he was just like being really charming. But what I saw in him, and that I had missed so much, and it was so nice to just be in a room with Billy Childs and a bunch of students, and he was just like so generous and so patient, and so his listening energy was at such a high level that it just felt like we were doing a concert, and it was so beautiful. And so I guess I'm just he's been a big inspiration to me, as far as a mentor, if you will, a musical mentor, composer wise. And and also just that thing when you start to see that, and Josh too. Josh came and did a class, and he was great, with the kids, but watching him solo, I'm like going, man, this guy, and just like I could hear what he was doing, but I was going like, it's just great to see people thinking through stuff. And like Barbara Morrison is another one too. She does it, but she doesn't do it the same way every time. She keeps evolving things, and depending on the players you're playing with, they might play a certain thing, and you just go, ooh, I could dig in here a little bit more, or oh wow, this sounds a little different than usual, but it's kind of cool. And so anyway.
Yeah, I wanted to tell you about a funny experience with Tamir. So I don't know if you or remember the room Ca del Sol in Studio City.
I played with you there.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
So there was one night when nobody was in the room, and Tamir and I were working, and Mike Lang came in.
Oh,
yeah, with a friend of his who a very high level classical player. I forget his name. Anyway, Mike was a little tipsy. He literally fell asleep. And so this classical Frederick, that was his name. He and Tamir sat down at the piano and improvised classical and jazz for basically me and the bartenders. I was thinking, oh my God, I'm going to remember this forever. It was so unbelievable.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
cool.
just great, great, great stuff.
It's kind of like why we do this, you know. It's like it's
Yeah.
not certainly not about the money, but it's definitely like, you know, there's that spirit of play that Tamir talks about, and just, you know, that thing where you can connect with people. Sometimes they don't even speak your language, you know. And you know, like when I was in Italy, you know, these guys didn't really speak English that fluently, or they didn't try it. But, you know, it was like, what do you want to play? All right, how about It Could Happen to You? It's like, okay, boom, and they knew that
So
song, and
fun,
we'd
yeah.
start playing, and enough said. The music was on, you know, and I was just like, God, this is so cool that this music is everywhere in the world, and even South Africa was like that too.
Oh,
When I went there with Dwight, it was just like, oh my God, it was just the spirit of play was everywhere. It was just,
incredible.
yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
my friends, when I was at Berkeley, my friends made the real book.
Whoa.
wow.
Can you imagine?
Amazing.
I'd like to talk to them about a couple of chord changes.
They made history, man. They
That's
made,
true.
you know, I mean, that whole
Incredible.
lineage, right? Wow.
Wow.
And
What a
so
great
Barbara, how about you?
Well, we laugh because we kind of say that I'm country mouse and he's city mouse, if you ever read the children's book, you know.
Yeah.
And I grew up in a very small town in Minnesota, and I would say that for most of my life, I thought that was kind of a limitation. You know, I felt like, oh, I come from this really small town and nothing was happening there. And yet, as I've gotten older, I've come to realize that I had the most exquisite childhood in the world, because it was so unsupervised and so close to nature. And so, you know, animals were my best friends, and my parents were very busy with their lives. It was literally a time period, you know, where my mom would say, get out of the house and come back at dinner, you know, and they had no idea where we were. I lived on a river. I had a horse on a farm, you know, and it's just like from, you know, 10 o'clock in the morning till 5 o'clock at night, we could have been dead, you know, and they would never know,
Right.
you know, and we would make our own fun and spend a lot of time in the woods, and just, and thankfully had an amazing music program at my public school. There was an incredible choral director that inspired me, kind of lit the spark. And so I sang in choirs a lot and went to Europe even in a high school situation that it.
You also played the piano for 10 years.
Yeah, I played the piano, and so I had a really rich small town education, if you will, and then went to Colorado because my whole family moved there, and then I went there for college and University of Colorado, and I think I was kind of like John. I was actually at one point thought I might be a PE teacher, and just I was really into sports, and I didn't really ever want to make music my profession, if you will, and so I didn't really pursue it seriously. I got a degree in music education, which ended up saving me so many times, you know, when I was in between jobs or whatever. I could always teach music, and was never unemployed, thank God, you know. And well, I moved to Los Angeles, and I had a very spotty, shall we say, you know, career as an actor, and I was on some TV shows for, you know, a few episodes here and there, but I was always teaching too, and I think I got to be known as working with kids, and so probably my most notable breakthrough or whatever is I got hired to be one of the music producers on the Mickey Mouse Club TV show. I worked on that for 3 years, and it was like I actually auditioned and hired Britney Spears and Justin Timberlake and Ryan Gosling and
Oh, wow.
Christina Aguilera, Carrie Russell, all these
Tony
people
Luca.
that have gone on
Gail
to be
Godboldo.
gone on to be like major stars, and you know they were just little 13 and 14-year-old kids, you know, at the time.
Wow.
So
You left out the part about Terra Nova, though.
oh yeah, and then I was singing in Los Angeles, and I had an a cappella group with Randy Crenshaw and
Oh,
Bill New and Gail Johnson, and we did a lot. We won the Hennessy Jazz Search an a
Oh.
cappella vocal group and sang at the Hollywood Bowl and everything. And
Wow.
but you know, I was kind of getting pulled in different directions, and I've always wanted to be a writer. So I was directing children's theater in Pacific Palisades and wrote a couple of musicals, and then, you know, soon after that we moved here, and now I'm actually making some of these stories into books and things, and hopefully they'll get made into movies at some point.
Oh,
So
God.
that's kind of my story. I've done a lot of things, and it's all worked really well being a film director, because I think that producing is all about troubleshooting and problem solving, and God knows I've solved a lot of problems and had to troubleshoot a lot of issues working with kids and no budgets and this and that, and education, you know, you learn how to make do with nothing. And so it's all been really kind of perfect training in some ways, you know.
That just makes me think of a stupid thing. I could never understand why when I would go out for a credit card, they would turn me down. I'd be like, are you kidding? I'm the person with low income who always pays my bills. You should be happy to give me a credit card, you know?
Yeah.
Kind of like that. It's like, yeah, man, you've handled it all, right?
Yeah. And so, you
Just
know,
think we're at the crux of your coming history right now.
well, this is like the third career, I think, and you know, and we're actually sort of, you know, a lot of my friends are retiring right now, and I feel like I'm just getting started in some ways. So it's kind of funny. I guess it's better to be a late bloomer than not bloom at all.
Better to have bloomed than not bloom.
Than never to have bloomed at all. Yeah. Well, boy, you guys, this has just been so much fun. It's been about 2 hours, and I'm so happy to talk to you. I really and truly, I mean,
grateful.
you guys are we definitely share the same universe, and it's beautiful. I told you in the beginning before we came on that, but now I don't even feel like it's a duh thing. But I said how this series has made me, and I said duh, but has made me realize how present we artists are really in this life and this world for everyone, and how many people are out there so accomplished and so creative. And I mean, and I think that definitely has come out of this close down, you know, from COVID, because we're less focused on what we normally do, and we're more open into the internet and such. But it's just made me, I mean, if I really got into thinking about this, how I feel, I would probably weep, because it's just so friggin' deep. So it's so the makeup of who we are. And as you were talking before about the acknowledgement, like from your movie, that people are actually moved to tears, and not because you intended that, but because it's touching that. I mean, I just want to applaud you to death.
Thank you. And we feel the same about you too, Cathy. I mean, one thing I will say, this almost just feels like a continuation of all the amazing jam sessions and weekly things. I mean, there was always a place for musicians to go in Los Angeles when we were there, and it was usually around you know, you starting, you know, the Sportsman's Lodge and all these places that you've just provided a space for musicians to go and work out, you know, when they maybe didn't have a gig, and then met other people. Yeah, just got to town. And you've just always been that for decades, you know, and now this is just like another version of that, I think, you know, you're continuing to hold the candle for all of us, sort of, you know.
Oh, thank you.
It's lovely.
That. Well, I would like to stay in touch a little more than once every 20 years or something.
Come to Santa Fe and visit, you know, when this is all over.
Yeah,
please do. It would be fun.
Even if it's not,
come do a gig.
We'll rub elbows.
Okay. Yeah, I want to. And like I said, my dear friends out there too. So Amy Jane. So I definitely will come. I'm gonna have that definitely in my mind.
You should do a
Um,
master class at your school too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would love to. And just so you guys know, I have two really incredible guests coming on Monday and Tuesday. Tomorrow is Michael Abene.
Oh, he did
Michael
some
Abene?
arrangements for
Yeah,
Dave Grusin.
he did
Oh,
arrangements for the West Side
cool.
Story. He did two, because
Yeah.
I recopied those entire arrangements for Dave and Michael
Killer
Abene. Yeah.
arrangements. Like,
I mean, those are like my favorite ones. He's incredible.
he's amazing.
Is he?
You
Where
know,
does he live?
he lives in New York, but upstate New York. And his wife is a really great artist.
Wow.
Like,
Cool.
really great. And it's funny because this is the third try actually, because the first try we had started our kitchen and I literally went outside with my computer and it was friggin' hot and my internet wasn't working. And he just said, let's just reschedule. And then the second time the WDR was happened, it came up that they were having a presentation of one of the concerts, or I can't remember exactly what it was, but so he really had to be on the Zoom. And so this is our third time. He's such a nice person.
Oh, cool.
And I'm really looking forward to that. And then the next day, I don't know if you know Gail Boyd. She's a lawyer and an artist manager of a lot of high level people. She lives in New York, and I've met her at the Jazz Congress in January, which I've been to for a few years, which is just, it's like, do you remember the old IAJE hangs?
Yeah.
That's what it's like. It's the Jazz Congress,
should
man.
meet her.
It's great. So
Yeah.
I know, man. Well, you can just go. So that's happening next week. And then just for the people listening, so next week I'll still be at 3 days a week, but instead of Sundays, I'm going to be Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, because I realized I wanted my Sundays free. And then what happens? I empty out my Sunday for like maybe grandchildren or something, and I get a jam session. So now, starting the 12th in the evening, I'll be having a jam session in Playa Vista at the conference room. But
Nice.
yeah, we'll see. We'll see. I think it'll be fun, but who knows in this time period,
Are you filming? Is it going to be live, or is it?
It's going to be live.
And is there social distanced, or is
and it's outside.
Oh, cool.
And the restaurant is absolutely great, and the owner is like, he's so cool. And the food is good. There's wine, and it's outside. And
Let's go.
Quick, get in the car.
okay,
We'll
I'll
start
take it
driving now.
Sunday.
We'll be there by Tuesday.
Actually, we might be coming to California. We're in the last running to get a puppy from this person, and so we might be coming to get a dog. Maybe we could swing north and.
Oh, that's wild. Hey,
Yeah.
Matt, just before we go, want to know, how do we see the Dave Grusin film?
Oh yeah, maybe. Why don't you put the poster up one more time? It's go to grusinfilm.com, and there's a button there.
I'm going to write this down too. grusinfilm.com.
Yep, and there's a button there that'll take you right to the film, and you can watch it tonight.
Really?
Yeah.
Cool.
You just have to rent it, but
Okay.
that would be great. It would be really wonderful, actually, if you rented it, because we need all the help we can get.
Absolutely. Okay.
And if you're a NARIS member, please vote for us for Best Music Film. We really would love to get Dave another Grammy.
grusinfilm.com. I'm just writing this in the grusinfilm.com. Yeah. Okay. Wow. I'm going to do that tonight. I'm going to watch.
Please let us know what you think. We would love to hear how you like it and
I'll
stuff.
probably also be weeping.
Yeah.
I have a feeling.
The tears of joy, it'll make you happy. And it'll be such a trip. Everyone is so nostalgic by seeing all the old TV shows, He did the music for Maude and, Gidget and just stuff that you didn't
Girl
realize.
from Uncle.
He did all the arrangements for Sergio Mendes, I mean, it's just
Elsewhere.
it's crazy.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
it's really crazy.
Wow. Gosh, I can't wait to see the film. Thank you,
Good.
guys. Just love
Thank
you and have a really beautiful evening. And
Thank
so
you.
much.
you've definitely inspired me and many other people. So thank you.
Oh,
Thank you.
awesome.
All right.
We appreciate the opportunity.
Take care.
Okay. Bye, everybody.